It was supposed to be another routine press conference, the kind of post-match gathering where players recycle cliches about taking it one game at a time. Yet when Coco Gauff, Britain's adopted tennis darling and one of the sport's brightest global stars, looked into the cameras and uttered the words, "I have to let go," the room froze. Journalists exchanged nervous glances, social media feeds erupted, and the tennis world was left to ask, what exactly does she mean? For a player who has carried extraordinary expectations since the age of 15, defeating Venus Williams on the hallowed lawns of Wimbledon, this statement was seismic. It was not simply about a tactical adjustment or a minor career hiccup. No, this was about identity, resilience, and the mental toll of being a prodigy turned global phenomenon. Was Coco signaling the end of an era or the beginning of a reinvention that could reshape her legacy entirely? In the next chapters, we'll unpack the meaning behind her confession, the pressure she has faced, the numbers that expose her inner battles, and the possible futures, some glittering, others far more uncertain. And along the way, we'll ask, is this Coco Gauff's downfall or her rebirth? From the moment Coco Gauff exploded onto the scene in 2019, British fans adopted her as their own, captivated by her poise, charisma, and fearlessness. Here was a teenager who not only challenged legends, but carried herself with the confidence of a seasoned champion. Yet hidden beneath the headlines and highlight reels was a truth few wanted to acknowledge: the crushing weight of expectation. Every Grand Slam appearance brought heightened scrutiny. Every loss sparked whispers of stagnation. Every victory fueled talk of a greatness. And in an age where social media amplifies every stumble, Coco's journey became a public spectacle, dissected by millions. It was, as one British commentator described, like watching a child walk a tightrope while the world below shouted advice. Now, with her simple but haunting confession, "I have to let go," Coco may have finally admitted what those closest to her already knew: perfection was unsustainable, and the chase for it was eroding her joy. Coco Gauff's rise was as sudden as it was spectacular. At just 15, she stormed onto Wimbledon's center court and toppled her idol Venus Williams, instantly rewriting headlines across Britain and beyond. From that moment, she was no longer a promising teenager. She was a phenomenon. With fame came endorsements, endless interviews, and the kind of scrutiny usually reserved for champions twice her age. Every swing of her racket became a statement, every slip magnified into a crisis. For British fans, she was more than an athlete. She was a symbol of youthful fearlessness, a reminder of what sport can inspire. But symbols carry weight, and Coco bore it all. Expectations from family, demands of sponsors, and the media's relentless hunger. Unlike many of her peers, she never had the luxury of anonymity. Growing pains were televised and analyzed and critiqued. "I have to let go," then was not just about tennis strokes. It was about releasing the invisible chains of expectation that had quietly threatened to suffocate her joy for the game. Statistics rarely lie, and in Coco's case, they reveal a story of tension rather than decline. Over her last 10 matches, her first serve percentage dropped by a modest 3%, small on paper, yet huge in moments that decide matches. More alarming was the collapse on second serve returns, nearly 10% fewer points won compared to last season. In a sport where margins are razor thin, that difference separates champions from contenders. Break points, and once her weapon of choice, became her undoing. Against top 10 opponents, she squandered 4 straight chances, hesitating rather than swinging with freedom. Analysts pointed out that her footwork remained sharp, her conditioning excellent. The problem wasn't the body, it was the mind. British commentators described it as playing with the handbrake on, a striking image of a player capable of acceleration, yet held back by invisible restraints. These numbers expose the true meaning of her confession. Letting go may be less about technique and more about unshackling herself in those suffocating high-pressure moments. What does it truly mean to grow up under a global spotlight? For Coco Gauff, adolescence was not defined by late-night study sessions or teenage rebellions. It was defined by practice courts, flashing cameras, and the constant weight of being hailed the future of tennis. While her peers navigated school exams and friendships, Coco navigated center court battles against legends twice her age. Psychologists often argue that prodigies face an invisible tax, the compression of identity. Success arrives early, but emotional maturity takes longer to catch up. For Coco, every defeat has been broadcast, every tear captured, every moment of vulnerability dissected in public. That creates what one British analyst called an echo chamber of expectation, where even small failures resonate like thunder. Her confession, "I have to let go," can therefore be read as a moment of rebellion, not against tennis, but against the suffocating script written for her. By admitting she must release perfectionism, she signals a shift towards balance, towards self-definition. This isn't collapse. It is growth. Like many champions before her, COCO may have realized that greatness cannot come from fear of failure. It must come from freedom, from the courage to play boldly, even recklessly, in the biggest moments. For Britain's tennis faithful, the intrigue deepens. Will COCO's letting go unlock her true potential, or will it expose the cracks that fame tried so hard to conceal? For all of her brilliance on court, COCO Gauff has never been defined by tennis alone. Away from the floodlights, she is an aspiring musician, already writing and releasing original songs that reflect a more personal, vulnerable side. She studies virtually, carving time for education despite the chaotic tour schedule. She speaks out on social issues, lending her voice to campaigns that reach far beyond sport. These pursuits are not distractions. They are COCO's attempts to build a life that is bigger than a scoreboard. To British fans, this duality is fascinating. Here's a young woman who can play in front of thousands on center court, then hours later sit quietly at a keyboard, writing lyrics about self-doubt and hope. It is a reminder that athletes are not machines. They carry stories, identities, and dreams that stretch far beyond the baseline. Her phrase, "I have to let go," may therefore hint at the decision to rebalance her world. Perhaps it is about letting go of the relentless treadmill of tournaments, creating space for music, activism, or even the simple joys of youth she never truly experienced. This makes her journey richer, more human, and more unpredictable. In Britain, where fans cherish stories of athletes who transcend sport, think of Marcus Rashford's activism or Lewis Hamilton's cultural influence, COCO's willingness to broaden her identity resonates deeply. She is not just a tennis prodigy. She is a symbol of versatility, courage, and authenticity. When COCO Gauff confessed, "I have to let go," the reaction from pundits and former champions was immediate. Some saw fragility, others saw strength. Martina Navratilova, speaking on a British broadcast, suggested that letting go is not surrender. It's often the first step to a freer, a more dangerous version of yourself. Chris Evert echoed the sentiment, pointing out that COCO's natural game is built on aggression and instinct. The moment she stops overthinking, she's lethal. The comparisons with past champions are striking. Serena Williams, whose career was a constant balancing act between dominance and outside pressures, often spoke of rediscovering joy after personal challenges. Naomi Osaka took a bold stand by stepping away to prioritize mental health, returning with a sense of authenticity that resonated globally. Simona Halep reinvented herself from a nervy contender to a fearless competitor by shifting her mindset, proving that greatness is not merely about forehands and backhands. It is about clarity. British experts have been quick to place COCO in this lineage. "We may be witnessing the birth of her second career," wrote one columnist. "The first was defined by the youthful brilliance. The second may be defined by chite maturity and self-possession. The question, then, is which path she will take. Will her words be remembered as the prelude to decline, or as the spark that unlocked a greater champion?" In the unpredictable theater of sport, such moments of confession often precede transformation. And for COCO, the comparisons with legends suggest her story is far from finished. Every confession reshapes a career narrative, and COCO Gauff's is no different. In Britain, analysts and fans alike are already sketching 3 possible futures. Scenario 1. The slide. If COCO fails to channel her words into action, early exits could become routine. Rankings may slip, critics may sharpen their knives, and her story could mirror that of other prodigies who burned bright before fading too soon. It would be the harshest outcome, a cautionary tale of pressure overwhelming promise. Scenario 2. The reinvention. By embracing freedom, COCO could discover a second wind. She might return to Grand Slam courts with fearless aggression, converting the break points she once surrendered. This arc would captivate audiences. A rebirth, a narrative of resilience that British tabloids would devour. Imagine the headlines: "Gauff lets go, Gauff flies." Scenario 3. The expansion. Perhaps a letting go means stepping beyond tennis altogether. She could lean into her music, activism, or education, crafting a life where victories are measured not by trophies but by influence. Britain has long celebrated athletes who transcend sport. Gauff's journey could echo that tradition. Each path holds a risk, but also possibility. And in truth, COCO's destiny may weave elements of all 3. That uncertainty makes her story compelling. Her next matches, her press conferences, even her off-court choices will now be read through this lens. Will she falter, flourish, or forge a new identity? The stage is set, and the world, particularly Britain, will be watching. In sport, redemption is the most intoxicating story of all. Fans don't just crave champions, they crave journeys, the rise, the fall, and the rise again. Coco Gauff's confession, "I have to let go," feels like the prologue to such a saga. It is raw, human, and vulnerable, but also charged with possibility. Imagine the scene. Wimbledon next summer. Coco steps onto center court, the weight of expectation lighter, the crowd sensing a different aura. She plays freely, striking without hesitation, chasing points with the abandon of her teenage debut. A tight match turns. Instead of faltering on break points, she converts them, roaring to the crowd as Britain rises to its feet. That victory would not simply be another result. It would be proof that letting go works, that freedom breeds greatness. Yet even if she stumbles, her honesty has already shifted the narrative. No longer is she just a prodigy carrying yes impossible pressure. She is the young woman daring to redefine success on her own terms. That alone is powerful. For British fans, her journey resonates beyond tennis. It is about resilience, authenticity, and the courage to admit vulnerability in a world that often demands perfection. Whether Coco Gauff's future is gilded with trophies or charted through music and activism, her confession has ensured one thing: her story will remain unmissable. And so we end with a question for the audience, the same one that lingers in the halls of tennis. Is this the fall of a prodigy or the birth of a legend?